I got an award here, I think, that weighs more than Jennifer, which isn't hard. She's large on the stage, but the world stage, but very small herself. Let's roll the. We've only given this award. This is the third time we've given this award. First time we've ever given it to a member of industry. We previously gave the Global Bioenergy Leadership Award to former Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack, and then we also gave it to former Navy Secretary Ray Mabus. So this is the first time an industry person has won it, and this video will talk a little bit about why that is. So let's roll that.
There it is, a greyhound running in all the glory of its youth. What happens when a greyhound gets old and tired? It's a good thing that around the world a small group of people rescue these noble racers and give them homes after their racing careers are over, and they save them from the euthanizers. A second act, a second chance. Isn't that the best story ever told in sports or in business or life? Redemption, the return of the king, the recapture of glory. Around the world, a small group of people capture carbon for a second chance. And every barrel of fuel made from that carbon is a barrel of oil left in the ground. And because it was energy headed for the waste dump and carbon headed for the atmosphere, traveling on second chance carbon feels like traveling without using energy at all. It feels weightless, or like free money. But if you think about rescuing carbon for a minute, you also might be reminded of all the intelligence and good heart in the world, and how sometimes it gets used to good purpose. It makes you feel good to get up in the morning. And that's why I'm so glad to give the 2018 Global Bioenergy Leadership Award to Jennifer Holmgren. She's the most intelligent, innovative leader on the subject of second chance carbon that probably there has ever been or ever will be. And she's also a rescuer of greyhounds, if you didn't know that about her. Carbon is a lot like a greyhound. It's noble and well-deserving of a second chance. And just maybe, to paraphrase Julia Roberts in the film Pretty Woman, if you rescue some carbon, you might find it'll rescue you right back.
Please join me in congratulating Jennifer Holmgren, CEO of LanzaTech, the Global Bioenergy Leadership Award. And I don't even know if you can lift this, but geez, it is just a monster. I didn't realize how heavy. But if you'll notice, it has a little second. It has a second chance greyhound on it.
This thing is a greyhound. It's so amazing. Okay, I'm speechless. Thank you. I don't know how to thank you. Jim, thank you for being the glue that binds us together. I think you guys know that this belongs to the people at LanzaTech and the people at UOP and all of you who work so hard and are so brilliant and solve problems every single day, so that when somebody says it's impossible, you just say, watch me do it. And that's the industry that you guys have created. And I am so grateful to be able to be part of this team. I'm truly honored. Thank you. Yeah, they're right there. So he wanted me to talk a little bit about carbon and second chance carbon, or as we say at LanzaTech, no carbon left behind. I had the opportunity to go to COP21. And at COP21, the world agreed that temperature rise was going to happen, but we were going to try to limit it to 2 degrees. A lot of people said, no, we want to stop at 1.5. 2 degrees is too much. I'd argued that the time for debate is long over. If you look at the IPCC models and how long it's going to be before we've put, at this rate, enough carbon in the air to reach 1.5, it's 6 months. We're 6 months away from that. And to be quite honest, I don't care. I don't care what the sea level rise is going to be at the end of the century. I care about what's happening now. I care about the people who are suffering now. If you look at some of the headlines that came out last year, it turns out that the National Weather Service had to add new colors to describe the intensity of hurricanes, to describe the heat in Australia. In fact, last year it was so hot in Phoenix that for a couple of days, planes were grounded. 50 planes were not able to take off. They were diverted. This is what's happening today. This is a picture from the East Coast in October of last year. Something called the bomb cyclone, never heard of it, happened. A bunch of water got whipped on shore and it was cold. Those are cars frozen on the street on the other side. This is Houston. This is Puerto Rico. This is California. This is what's happening. And in my mind, what we have is a challenge. We have to have carbon for our liquid fuels. And we use 50 million barrels a day of liquid fuels. And we put 40 gigatons of carbon in the air every single year. We have to stop. And I think the way to stop is to stop using carbon just once. Recycle that carbon. Give it a second chance. Turn that waste, turn that problem into an opportunity, turning it into something valuable. Now, as Eric said, and all of you know, okay, trees know how to do this really well. That's why we have a biofuel industry. That's what trees do. They pick up CO2, they take it out of the air, and they turn it into something. And then we as an industry turn it into something else. But this isn't enough anymore. As Steve Chalk said, we have to do more, because we have to do it quickly. We need all solutions, not just trees and plants. We have to take carbon out of the air in other ways. I will talk today, I'll give you a few slides on what we do at LanzaTech, carbon recycling, gas fermentation. But of course, there are other people doing the same thing, so this is just a proxy for an emerging field. What we do is we take carbon monoxide, hydrogen, and carbon dioxide, and we take that and we ferment it, just like yeast ferments sugars, and we make ethanol. We can make other products as well. We've learned how to modify this organism to make chemicals, isopropyl alcohol, butanol, acetone, farnesene. Where do we get our carbon monoxide? We often get it from industrial emissions. Before it goes out the flue, we capture it, compress it into our bioreactor, and turn it into product. We can also take syngas, like gasified biomass. We take that, convert it to ethanol, we take that ethanol and convert it to other products, like jet fuel. This is our demonstration scale plant, 100,000 gallons of ethanol made from carbon monoxide from a steel mill. And this is at the same site, our bioreactors for our commercial plant. Later this year, we'll be making 20 million gallons of ethanol using recycled carbon from the steel mill. It was first used to make steel, and it's now being used to make ethanol. If I were able to use all the carbon emissions from steel plants all over the world, and I know I can't, we would be able to make over 50 billion gallons of ethanol per year. Okay? Everybody talks about electric, low carbon fuels have an important seat at the table as we transition to electrification. There are a lot of other examples that we're using, gasified MSW, biomass, refining waste stream, ferroalloy plants. We're working with IOC where we're taking a refinery off gas. That refining off gas is actually rich in hydrogen, CO and CO2. 60% of the carbon in the ethanol will come from CO2 and that waste emission. And we're working with local partners to create that global impact. This is the kind of impact we can have. And again, this is just our type of technology, not all of the other technologies you guys are working on. We as an industry matter. We as an industry can make a huge difference. So taking a step back, what is our intent? What are we trying to do? We are trying to reduce our carbon emissions. And now, all of a sudden, global legislation is catching up. All of a sudden, low carbon fuel standard, what is it about? Carbon. Bilateral carbon trade agreements, tax credits. Actually, most of you don't even know this probably, but last month, actually just a few days ago, last week, now the US has a tax credit for carbon capture. And thanks to the ABO, it can be used for carbon reuse. So if you recycle an industrial waste emission, you'll receive a credit. Now all of a sudden, carbon-centric policy is getting a seat at the table. And that, to me, is what unifies this group, is all of these solutions that are helping to create a new carbon economy. Jim refers to us as the digestirati. I don't know how to say that. That's my Spanish accent. We are growing from talking about plants to fuels, to carbon to fuels and chemicals, to advanced materials to low carbon nutrition. That's what the world needs. I know we're going to make a difference. I know we are making a difference. I know we are the rebellion. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. I'm not leaving this behind. Second chance carbon.
Second chance carbon, yeah. So, thank you, Jennifer.